Hi, this is Team Aces with Harry and Shannon, and we are going to do our presentation on Group Project 2, which is using the topic, which was the PHP Vault Temporal Paradox. Next slide. So the objective was to create a multi-room, time travel themed escape room web game using PHP for puzzle logic and tracking the sessions, and HTML and CSS for layouts, animation stylings, no JavaScript were used. Everything is built with code only. The goal is to let players travel between the past, present, and future rooms, solve puzzles using hints, and unlock the final vault. Next slide. A lot of web games rely on JavaScript and libraries for interactivity, and our challenge was to basically make a game, an escape room game, using only PHP, HTML, and CSS. We used PHP sessions to remember which rooms were solved and making sure the solutions were put in. CSS animations were used to ease in transitions and open rooms, and to design puzzles that felt like time paradoxes and not just forms which you filled up. Next slide. The theme was a sci-fi time vault with 3 eras, past, present, and future. The layout was a shared header and footer for a consistent frame, an index where which would basically act as the lobby for all the files, or then the intro, the hub, which works as the timeline to connect all the 3 phases, a room, a dynamic file for the interactions for every room, and a final PHP file, which was the final room after we unlocked all 3 rooms. So, the score screen. Next slide. So the features of this web game, as I mentioned before, it had 3 time eras which acted as rooms, a past, present, and future with its own riddle/puzzle, and it worked using a PHP session state. It tracked if the past, present, and future was solved or not, and it also tracked the score as you solved each room. And it also used a validation system to make sure the puzzles were solved accurately. Each room had a code, and we used PHP to check against error-specific answers, so answers for each of the 3 rooms. There's a scoring system and a hint system. Incorrect answers and using hints would reduce the score. By gated progression, it meant that you couldn't progress to the second or third room without completing the first room, and you needed to complete all 3 rooms after finishing to get the final room. Next slide. So the additional features we added based on the prompt was the time machine interface, a hub screen which included basically cards to access the past, present, and future, a status system that showed which rooms were solved or which room was locked, and the current score as it updated as you solved each room. Paradox creation puzzles, like I mentioned earlier, each room is locked before you resolve the previous one. So the future room is blocked until you've resolved the past or the present, and solving the rooms changes what's available later, so which is going to be the final gate. And we have a storytelling feature, which is each room has a description which explains what the area looks like and hints at the code. Hint text and narration and images help with telling a simple time paradox story to help with navigating the rooms. Next slide. These are some of the highlights of the code we used. As you can see, we have a snippets of code that track the initializes the session and shows which rooms have been solved and shows the score, and a all rooms solved section to enable the final room to be accessed, a room loader that reads which room you'd be in or which room you'd pick, and it, like it says, it uses one template with different stylings for the past, present, and future. The scoring and hint system that shows correct code shows the room as solved, wrong code subtracts points and shows an error message, and then hint button system to subtract extra points and reveal the hint box. Next slide. We used the Kanban methodology. We didn't use it with full accuracy as this table shows, but basically the layout was to have a to-do list, an in-progress list, a testing, and a completion list. To do basically started with the skeleton, creating the structure of the files in the folders, planning out what would be added later, like description, storytelling points, and hint system. And the main progress was building the actual room, the stylings, and the cards. The things we had to test were the room gating logic and making sure that points were deducted if we used hints or got the answer wrong, and opening the final door and to make sure session is persistent. And the completion list really had the transitions and final polish and uploading to the server and making sure the final version was uploaded on Git as well. Next slide. The challenges we faced while working on this project was keeping everything interactive with that JavaScript, knowing how to make everything interactive as compared to the first project, managing multiple rooms through a single hub room while keeping code variable, making the UI feel like an escape room using only color and CSS effects, balancing puzzle difficulty so players don't get stuck or it isn't too easy. What we ended up learning is that PHP sessions are powerful for small game states. Keyframes and transforms can simulate game-like motion without JavaScript. A good user interface with clear instruction and hints matter just as much as the code. Next slide. In conclusion, we achieved a lot of things. We built a complete escape room with 3 errors and a final vault. We implemented time-based locking and scoring using PHP sessions, used only HTML, CSS, and PHP, no JavaScript. And the takeaway was even with constraints like not using JavaScript, it is possible to create a narrative-driven, puzzle-based web experience using the core web technologies. Next slide. And these are the links to the GitHub. We utilize GitHub to push and pull code as we update it. And this is the link to the COD server to access the index. We also utilize Discord to communicate. And right now I will hand it over to my teammate to showcase the demo.